Hello, Collector's Maze. We have Melissa Medina here. How are we doing today?
Hola. Hi.
So, what I do is I'll let my guests introduce themselves. Kind of just tell us who you are, what you've done, and where we might have heard you.
Yeah, my name is Melissa Medina. You've probably heard me most, I think, in Star Wars, The Old Republic, as Hera Cole. I'm in Aliens Fire Team as Herrera, Battlefield 2042, Lego Friends, Grand Blue Fantasy, Dying Light, Legends of Runeterra, bunch of different video games that I get to drop into and do cool stuff and yell at people. It's great.
Awesome,
So.
awesome. So, how have things been going, and what have you been working on that you can talk about? Because I know there's NDAs, but what are you working
Yeah,
on lately?
let's see. I think the game sphere has really blown up. There's a couple of titles that I can't mention what they are,
Of course.
but they will be coming out this year in a couple of months, I
Oh,
think.
cool.
So that I'm really, really excited about. There's a couple of things that have been delayed, and that's kind of how it goes. But yeah, so I do a good mix of commercial stuff and video games, and then live action dubbing, so TV shows and movies and stuff. So that has more than kept me busy. And then I teach some voiceover stuff,
Oh, cool.
help people with their demos and stuff like that. So it's a good time living that full-time voice actor life.
Absolutely insane busy. It sounds like
Yeah.
just constant running. So,
Hmm.
the first thing we want to talk about probably is Star Wars. Talk about how that went for you. How it felt being in that type of universe, and it's an expansive game. Like it's huge. So, kind of just talk about your character and how it was for you.
Yeah, so it's been absolutely amazing so far. It's been a lot of fun. I actually met how I got involved with it was from my work on Aliens Fire Team,
Okay.
actually. So a lot of the same folks kind of work both projects, and one of them has been working on Star Wars since it first came out. So very long time.
Yes.
Yeah, and they wanted to expand some of the storyline. They're kind of working on I think you've seen some of the patches and the updates where they
Okay.
try to fix things or clarify things. So yeah, from my work on Aliens Fire Team, a guy said, this guy Dara, he's absolutely fantastic. He's like, I really love how tough you are and how tough you sound, and I really want to bring that to this one character that I have you in mind for. And I was like, who is it? And he told me a little bit about Hedda Cole's backstory, and I was like, I am in. Yes.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I got to record, and there, I believe there was a previous voice actor before for that character, and who also did a really, really fantastic job. And I think maybe just, I don't know, wasn't available or something. So I was able to step in and bring some gravitas to Hedda Cole, which was
There you
kind of
go.
fun.
There you go. Awesome. So,
Yeah.
I know a lot of voice actors, especially with like recording like for episodes and stuff like that. For this type of game, were you by yourself mostly, or did you have other voice lines pumped into your headphones, or how did that work for you? Because I know you had to interact with people.
Yeah, I know. I hate when I have to interact with people. No, just kidding. Yeah, I do mostly work by myself. So when I recorded Header Cole's lines, I don't hear anyone else's. I'm just kind of following what the loose guidelines are for kind of what they're looking for.
Okay.
And then I just sort of make it my own, and I go, does that work? And they go, I don't know, let me check. And then we kind of continue that way. So yeah, no, I didn't get to work with anybody from the Star Wars universe necessarily. And I think because it was an update too,
Okay.
that I mean that work had long been done.
Sure.
So but I did, obviously I played the game. I played the game like when it came out. And so it was a huge thing for me to be able to join the universe now. And yeah, it's great.
Awesome. Awesome. So, another cool thing you got to kind of do was Battlefield 2042. Kind of talk about your role as Whitney on that.
Yeah, so Battlefield 2042 is great because it's not a typical role for me. So I play a lot of soldiers and badass characters and stuff. But with Whitney, I get to be the host of a conspiracy theory podcast radio show within the game. So you can tune into the radio station, and every single map has a different episode of that show, where we just kind of talk about the lore of the universe, and me being super duper sarcastic about, how the world is going to go from here on out. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. I just kind of get to like let my inner pessimist out. and just be like, yeah, okay, sure. And yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Awesome. So how did that come about? Because I know kind of like the Star Wars thing. You said that the Alien Fire Team kind of walked you in there. How did
Mhm.
that come about? Did you audition for the Battlefield role or?
That one I auditioned for,
Okay.
yeah.
Did you?
And I don't know what it was about my audition. I think it was just the pure sarcasm involved that got me through,
Yeah, I'm about to say with the sarcasm thing, like the audition, like you have to be like just,
right?
oh yeah, I'm here to audition. Well, yeah, whatever, like just over the top for it. Gotcha.
Yeah, I watched a lot of Ancient Aliens in preparation.
That's a good
So
way to go for the conspiracy theories. That actually is some method acting right there. So, Dark Deity.
Mhm.
Sarah, that's another kind of a different role for you since you kind of start playing the badasses.
Yeah,
Tell us
yeah.
about Sarah and how that went and how you got that one.
Sarah was great because it was, I was seeing so many of my friends and my colleagues be cast in this the project, and I was like, yes, good for them. And this sounds like a really great game. And then somebody reached out to me and said, I have this character who isn't your typical type, but she's very regal, she's very intelligent, and she's very strong. We want somebody who can carry that. And we were thinking about you. And I said, yeah, sign me up. Plus, the more characters I can get with colored hair, the better.
It's
So
true. I noticed
so she was great.
when I was kind of looking for the background pictures, I noticed you literally like purple, teal, like you've gotten all kinds of different colors of hair.
And my own red,
Yeah,
yeah, so yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. So, let's get to the big one, Valorant.
Mhm, mhm.
How did that like? Tell us about that. Like, what are you doing there? A lot of people don't realize probably that this is even in the game.
No, they don't, and I think that's the best part is it feels kinda sneaky,
Mm.
and every now and then I'll get somebody reach out going, "Is that you? Because that sounds like you," and I go, "Mhm, it sure is,"
That's
in
awesome.
English and Spanish, so there's, the AI voices, and it was just sort of a happenstance that, the audition came through my agent, and they were like, we might use, the synthesized voice unless we find somebody who can kinda do that," and I went, "I am very good at synthesized voices, also sarcasm." So let me throw some of that in there. So a lot of what I did in the Valorant map was a lot of like, please come pick up your package, and and then it actually wasn't originally meant to be in Spanish, but I think like an hour before I was set to record, they were like, "Oh, we just saw on your website that you're bilingual, that you speak Spanish." And I said, "Yeah." And they go, "Well, can you do some of your lines in Spanish too?" And I was like, "Yeah, why not?" So we just kinda added that on into the session, and it's really fun the way they mixed it together, and yeah, it's a lot of fun.
That's very cool. So, talk about being a bilingual voice actor. Like, how does it feel to be able to do both, and like, how does that work for you?
It's good. I think that, more and more, we're getting to meld the 2 worlds because a lot of times there's no overlap, right? There's just the exclusively Spanish and English as well. But, things like Valorant are a great example of how you can just throw in just a little flavor in there and it can bring a lot to it. So, yeah, it's fun. I think the Latin American sphere, especially for things like animation, and video games especially as well, like localization are really doing well these days, and I am really glad for it.
Absolutely.
Mm.
So how did this even come about? How did you go to the voice acting? Like, were you wanting to be an actress, and like that kind of happened that way, or did you like want to be a voice actor like the entire time?
I completely just accidentally fell into it. It was not something that I had on my radar. I did my degree is in music, so I
Okay.
actually was an opera singer for a long time.
Okay.
Yeah,
No,
I know.
yeah.
Yeah, I usually get that response of like, "Hmm,
Yeah.
interesting."
Yeah.
But yeah, I was an opera singer for a long time, and then I left, because student loans, and I was like, "Oh, I gotta get a real job and stuff." But yeah, so after doing that for a while, I just kinda went, I need a break. I hadn't taken a vacation in, like, 10 years.
Yeah.
So, I was just like, I saved, I'm gonna just take some time off, and while I did that, I found audiobooks, and that was actually my entry into voice acting was audiobooks, which I've since come to find that that's like jumping into the deep end. That's like really trying to tackle the hardest thing. I didn't know. I was just like, "I like books."
Absolutely.
Um But yeah, and then I started falling into indie game after indie game after indie game, and I really loved it, and I just really love playing games myself. So it I just sort of fell into the games, and I haven't left since, and I don't plan on it.
Uh,
So
Especially if they just keep cranking out stuff for you to work on, right?
right, yeah.
Absolutely. So you said you play games. What kind of games do you play?
So I actually, like I said, I played the Star Wars game when it came out. But I'm a big Bethesda person, so I played Skyrim a lot.
Fallout.
I did actually play through Cyberpunk. I've been playing a lot of Elden Ring right now, and rage quitting occasionally,
I was
but
just about to say
Elden
that's
Ringing.
oof.
It
It's
is
so
what it
bad.
is.
It's so I've seen so many people literally. I've watched a couple of Twitch streams of people like
Mhm.
literally smashing their keyboards and cutting it off. I was like,
Yeah, yeah. So I just kind of have to go, whoo. All
big
right,
time.
gonna go do something else now.
So,
But yeah,
so big into the RPGs, right?
mm-hmm.
Love the RPGs. So let's
Yeah.
talk about what an RPG you were in. Grand Blue Fantasy. How did like your character looks so badass? Like you talk about we go from talking about Dark Deity and the conspiracy theorist and the computer voice, then we jump into this mega cat. Like what's
Ch-
she?
yeah, yeah. She's a fox creature.
Fox creature. Okay.
Um, and it was obviously a complete departure from my natural voice, from everything that I had really done. But like I am Yule on the inside.
I feel
Like
that spirit animal.
like Yule is always hungry and just sort of like out there and big and bright, and she doesn't give a crap about what anybody thinks. And I love that about her. So when I got the audition, I was like, this isn't my normal thing, but I'm gonna try it and just see what happens. And luckily the audition mentioned food, so I was like, I'm in. Um, yeah, so
Huh.
and I'm glad they gave me a chance because Yule has been so much fun to record. Yeah.
Now, do you have to go back? I know she's a DLC character. Is there like anything? Do they keep adding stuff and you have to go back in, or how does that work for a
Yes.
DLC character?
Yeah, so there was almost a year between the first time I recorded and I think they expanded the game, so we needed to record some new lines for the new characters. And I had to go, wait, what was this voice again? And I have to like go back and listen to it and remember because it'd been
It's
so long,
it's
you
a
know?
big weird voice. I don't like from your other stuff. It's a like you said a huge departure.
Yeah, yeah.
Flexibility, absolutely
Yeah, but she still got that attitude a little bit, so it's still in there.
for sure.
But yeah, I every time I go back, I have to kind of refresh my memory and I sometimes replay the game a little bit just to kind of get a feel for her again. But God, everybody on that cast is amazing. So it's a great game. I like it a lot.
Stuff. So I know we talked a little bit before the interview, like before we started recording, obviously about the cons and stuff. You said, have you been to cons before COVID, like just a couple, or how do you like do that?
So not in person, but during COVID, I did a few appearances and panels and things online through Zoom like this.
Mhm.
And I think that it's a really great way to like bridge the gap between, the ones that are still doing live and the ones that aren't. So I've been especially careful about that in recent months, I guess. But I'm glad that things are starting to happen again, like yours looks really cool. So I'm excited.
Yeah, it's gonna be nuts. I'm sending some links to some videos.
Hmm.
So if you were gonna help someone, I guess what's we talked about this before too. Talk about your voice acting coaching. I mean, we already talked about that, but kind of expand on that. Like how you're helping, because we also talked to. Oh my gosh, he's gonna be mad at me for not knowing his name. We talked to another guy on here as well. I have to remember his name. He also did voice acting coaching as well. He's been in the industry for about 20 years. Talk
Hmm.
about yours. How your experience with that is.
Yeah. So really my stuff is focused more on like how you use your voice and how you can do it safely. I think that's something that, in my classical singing background, my opera background, that's a huge deal. I mean, you're singing for up to 12 hours a day.
Oh wow.
Um, so I'm very used to having to take care of my instrument and stuff. So a lot of what I teach is about that, like how to take care of your body, how to take care of your voice, how to do stressful things safely. Like I do a lot of yelling for military stuff, and so yeah, a lot of it revolves around that. Some of it revolves around just like helping colleagues get unstuck. We all have like these creative slumps sometimes,
Absolutely.
and sometimes we just need to go to someone else to say, actually, you're not doing anything wrong. It's maybe you can try this, or maybe you can try this, and get that outside perspective. And then I also kind of help some of the brand new people try to figure out like how to navigate this market that has changed over the last couple years since COVID, especially that I mean, I live in Minnesota. I'm not in LA.
Yeah,
And so that's a whole new climate that a lot of people haven't navigated before. So
absolutely.
yeah.
The man's name is Barry Yandel. He's a
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Hmm.
that's who we've interviewed as well. So do you have a home? So you said being in Minnesota, do you have a home studio that you use?
Yeah, it's
That's
I'm
where
in
you're
it
in.
right now.
Awesome.
Um, yeah, it's been a good investment. I started honestly, I started in a closet with clothes,
Most of them.
auditioning for things, as many people have actually,
Absolutely.
like even some of your favorite voice actors, they probably started in a closet.
Absolutely.
Um, and then moved down into a bigger space because I just you get a little bit claustrophobic. There's no daylight. So yeah, I moved into a bigger space for myself, and it's been very useful given COVID and the fact that I'm not in a major hub like LA or in Texas or anything like that. So
Yeah, it seems like Texas has been pretty. I actually was like to slide into my next question. Texas seems to be off and cracking for voice acting right now with
yeah.
with the move for Funimation and everything.
Mhm.
So that's kind of the one thing you haven't quite gotten into yet. Would you be interested in doing anime?
I have actually. It's just not out yet.
Okay.
But yeah,
Can you
there's
talk about it yet or no?
no, I can't.
Oh,
I can say that when you see it, you're gonna go, "Oh, yeah, no, that's perfect." Um,
good, good, good,
so yeah,
awesome.
can't wait for it to come out. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's literally I looked through everything. I was like, she hasn't gotten into anime yet, and then boom, you just dropped there.
Hmm.
That's awesome.
It got delayed actually because of
Makes
like the
sense.
merger and some of the other stuff. So,
Oh, it's a
at this
Funimation.
point, I'm just, hmm,
It's a Funimation
uh,
thing, huh? You let it slip.
possibly. Damn it.
Sorry.
But yeah, so I've just been sort of keeping an eye out and like waiting and just to get the okay.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. That'll be awesome. So,
Mhm.
since you are a teacher, let's get into that teaching mode. What would
Mhm.
you tell someone that's getting into voice acting right now, like kind of working on their demos, getting ready to get out there? Like,
Mhm.
what would be the first thing they need to do?
Um, honestly, I think that uh, my best advice would be to avoid the pitfalls that everybody falls into of thinking that they need to spend a fortune on this, that they need to get designer equipment and all of that stuff. You really don't. It's mostly about your heart and your talent and the things that you love doing, and that will carry through regardless of what microphone you use. And so I think a lot of people get distracted, even with demos too. They might make them too early because we get super excited, and we want to get out there. But so I would say, don't worry about your equipment so much. Get the bare minimum and you're fine. And then focus on your acting. Because a lot of people think about voices first, but it's really acting first. So yeah, that would be my recommendation.
Awesome. So, you've said you're already getting into anime, what is a project that you would love to jump into that you haven't gotten into yet? Maybe not necessarily a genre, but maybe a universe that you've seen that you like to get into or something like that.
That's a really good question. So, there's quite a lot of sci-fi on my list of work, right? So I've got
Yeah.
Aliens universe now and Star Wars. Um, I think like that for me, the perfect trifecta would be to be able to get into a like a Star Trek universe somehow, because there's animated series being made now. There's potentially video games being made, and I think that would just be the perfect trifecta for me to have Alien, Star Wars, and Star Trek, and then I'm done. It would be
Absolutely.
perfect.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's something I want to get into for sure.
So I'm hearing sci-fi. Fantasy's not a genre you're very much into then, huh?
I actually love it. I just never get the opportunities really.
Well, I thought you were gonna say Lord
It's
of the Rings. Like literally with everything we've talked about,
right.
I thought you were gonna say Lord of the Rings. I thought you were gonna say
I
since
will
I've done
say
aliens and stuff, I want to get completely out of it and go back to Middle Earth or
I
something.
love horror and sci-fi. Those are my favorites. um, but I will say I have done some voice match for, like Kate Blanchett in Lord of the Rings and doing all that stuff. So
Okay.
I do a little, like a tiny, get to
Dabble.
dabble a little
Yeah.
bit, but I would love to do more fantasy. I just don't see a ton of it coming my way. So I might have to fix that
You have to
someday.
go get it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Melissa, thank you so much. I've had an awesome time. I
Thank
hope you've had a
you.
good time as well.
Absolutely.
Where can we find your socials? Where can we find you?
Yes, I am Melissa Medina VO everywhere.
Everywhere.
My main presence is on Twitter where I just post random dumb jokes. And yeah, so you can find me pretty much everywhere. And then my website here, melissa.com. And then you'll see some stuff coming soon, like on IGN, the Summer of Games. You'll see a couple of things coming out in the IGN Expo and stuff soon. So keep an eye out.
Awesome. Thanks again. Have a great day.
Thanks.